Right, we're going to talk Chelsea now because they've been busy again. Over £200 million spent, but they've also sold well, as they often do, Chelsea, bringing in 135 million. So the net spend's not that big at the moment. Might be about to get a little bit bigger though. What's the latest on the defender, JORREL Hato?
This deal, Matt, feels like it's edging ever closer to completion. We reported a few days ago that the deal for Hato was agreed with Ajax, a deal for an initial fee of £35.5 million for the 19-year-old. And of course, Hato, at 19 years old, has developed so much at Ajax. He wore the captain's armband at just 17 years old, and he really fits Chelsea's profile of the type of signings they have tried to get in the last 12 months or so, really rebuilding this Chelsea side. And really, the good thing about Hato is also his versatility. He can also play left back as well as centre back, and I think the idea would be to give a bit more time off maybe to Marc Cucurella, who played a lot of games last year. But it's interesting, Matt, I've been asking a few sources in the Netherlands about Hato and just what he's like, and he was described to me as a very calm personality, but also very interesting. He works individually with former Chelsea defender Winston Bogarde individually on his game, who only made a handful of appearances for Chelsea. You can tell me a story in a minute.
That's not a good thing.
I want to know more about that.
You're not watching, mate.
But I think what's interesting is Hato sees himself as a centre-back, of course. He's very good on the ball. I saw him a few years ago against Aston Villa in the Conference League, and he talked about how he wanted to play in the Premier League one day. Virgil van Dijk is his idol, of course, being Dutch. But maybe we might see a transition into a left-back, a little bit like Jurrien Timber, gone to Arsenal and found actually physicality-wise and maybe his stature, actually a full-back position may be better suited. He has spoken to Timber quite a lot, of course, about that positional change. Tell me a bit more about Bogarde.
I can't do that. I can't do that. But obviously, there was some questionable things back in the day when he was, he obviously. You know what? It's not factual, but apparently, like he didn't have a great time at Chelsea. They said they don't want him, and he was like, I don't care, just pay me my money.
Yeah.
And then, that was kind of
exactly.
He didn't play again.
Let's move on from Winston.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before we upset him too much. In general, how good a window have Chelsea had?
I think they've had a good window. I like the signing of Delap, Gittins. I think is a very good signing as well. But this transfer, I really like because, again, he has that versatility. He can play left back, he can play centre back. He has the same kind of build as Colwill. Colwill's had a lot of injuries throughout his early career. Again, left-footed player, so he's comfortable when open up the body, and I think that's always good to have that balance in your two strikers. But when you look at their window as a whole, I really like what Chelsea's doing. Again, you said, Dan, it fits their profile, the signing, and they're going to go out there and try and win 4 competitions, so they need a strong squad, and he's another player that I think, again, he will come into that starting team. At some point, he will get in there and stay in there. That's how good he is.
I also think, when we talk about Chelsea's strategy, we spoke 12 months ago on these shows, Matt, especially about how this is such a unique strategy. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented in football, and I don't think we should ever forget that no club the size of Chelsea have gone with a strategy like this, where you invest so much money in young players, long-term long-term contracts, absolutely, but just for a pure number of players to bring in. And we're seeing the fruits of that a little bit. We saw that at the end of last season. We saw that in the Club World Cup. And I think Liam Delap, for example, £30 million with that
clause. That's a steal.
Chelsea have completed Alejandro Garnacho background checks as summer plans emerge, and it's almost a done deal. The Argentine has been a long-term target after being bombed out of the Manchester United first team by head coach Ruben Amorim. Chelsea have no concerns over the character of transfer target Alejandro Garnacho after carrying out a series of background checks on the out-of-favor Manchester United winger. Garnacho has been a long-term target of Chelsea, who are understood to be the favored destination of the Argentine this summer. Chelsea are expected to make an offer for Garnacho before the transfer window shuts, but may have to wait for United's search for a new striker to come to an end, with the Old Trafford club hoping to sign Benjamin Sesko. Chelsea also need to make sales or loan players out to create space for more attackers, with Christopher Nkunku and Armando Broja among those expected to leave permanently, and Mark Guiu and Tariq George to move on loan. Chelsea have held talks over signing RB Leipzig's Xavi Simons, but his arrival would not shut the door on a move for Garnacho if the club can make room for both players. Defender JORREL Hato is poised to complete his £37 million switch from Ajax in time for the start of Chelsea's mini pre-season next week, which will allow the club to focus on outgoings and moves for Simons and Garnacho. Garnacho has been bombed out of the United first team by head coach Ruben Amorim, but Chelsea have not been put off by his Old Trafford fallout.